Can someone go B&Q and get some white paint, please? Thank you. Yes, welcome along to this week's Women's Football Chat. My name is Chris Gadsby. I'm here every week bringing you the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England. That's the FA Women's National League. Usually I'm here on a Thursday, but because I'm going away tomorrow, I'm not able to record the show. So you've got it coming on a Wednesday for you for this week. And what has been a week of highs, lows and some quite frankly absurd frustration over the course of the last 7 days. Here to bring you up to speed with everything happening in the FAWNL. We're going to start not with the league results as we normally do, but we're going to start with the first trophy handed out of the season as Hashtag United win the National FAWNL Cup final in front of nearly 4,000 fans at Kenilworth Road, beating Newcastle by 2-1. Goals in this one, Newcastle taking the lead through an own goal in the 16th minute, but Hashtag answering straight back through Macy Nichols in the 18th minute before Phoebe Williams, 15 minutes from time, put them ahead. They hold on and win the FAWNL Cup. So Forest handing it back and over to Hashtag United. Newcastle then will be focused entirely on getting themselves over the line in the Northern Premier Division and getting into the Championship. Hashtag United, as we'll see later, look as though they're going to be in the FAWNL for another year, so they will attempt to retain it next season. Right, let's go through then straight away into the Northern results, and been a relatively full programme over this week, but there is one postponement in the Northern Premier Division. We'll start on Friday night with the game between Wolves and West Brom at Molineux. Wolves winning this one by 2-0, 2,700 in attendance there. Goals for Amber Hughes just before half time, 44th minute, and Tammy George in the 77th minute. A 2-0 victory for Wolves, the result that was kind of expected before this weekend began. Burnley narrowly beating Stoke City by 2-1, and Stoke had gone in front in this game. Heidi Logan in the 23rd minute had put them in front, but two second half goals, one to Rema Lord Mears in the 69th minute, and then a 96th minute winner to Laura Elford put Burnley in front, and they held on for all 3 points. Derby County, again a narrow victory against AFC Fylde by 2-1. Derby had taken a 2-0 lead in this one. Amy Sims in the 49th minute, Hannah Ward in the 59th minute, and Sasha Rowe in the 85th minute, getting one back for AFC Fylde. Halifax against Nottingham Forest postponed. We'll come back to that one in a minute, but we'll go straight down to Huddersfield Town 1, Liverpool Feds 1. Layla Proctor in the 30th minute, Katie Anderson in the 61st minute with the equaliser for Liverpool Feds. So the points there are shared. A point is valuable for Huddersfield Town, although they could have really done with all 3. Right, Halifax against Nottingham Forest. What a debacle that was. The game called off 15 minutes before kick-off, after the teams had warmed up, because the referee had concerns with some areas of the pitch. There is an interview with the Halifax manager on their social media, and he basically says that the referee turned up late, wanted the opinion of the managers about the pitch, and said, well, it's your decision, ref, you make it. And the ref then 15 minutes later made the decision that the pitch was unplayable. Apparently there were some divots that he had some concerns about, and Halifax said, if you'd have told us about them, we could have sorted those divots out. And there were some lines that weren't painted properly, and again they said, if you'd have told us about that, then we'd have painted the lines, we'd have got a tin of white paint from somewhere and painted the lines. And it's one of these situations again where it just makes the league look so bad, because Forest have gone all the way up there with no concerns. Both teams have warmed up on the pitch, and then you've got the situation where 15 minutes before kickoff, and it's for both sets of fans, but more so for the Forest fans who have gone up from Nottingham, and it's a 150 odd mile round trip, which is now looking like it's going to have to be midweek, because Halifax have got so many games to play, and their games that are scheduled for weekends are against teams that cannot go there midweek because it's too far. And it just makes the league look so bad. And as the Halifax manager said in his interview, it's going to be the same pitch and the same conditions because it's so late on in the season and it's a grass pitch, and yes, they've had some rain. The only thing that's going to change is the official who's making the decision. So I think that's just really frustrating for all involved, particularly at both ends of the table, really, because Forest have a extremely outside chance of still getting the promotion, although they are 12 points back and need Newcastle to basically lose every single game. Halifax are 9 points clear of the relegation zone, but still with 7 games for Huddersfield to play. It's not, these are important games to get on, and it's another one where Halifax have only played 13 this season, and you've got teams like West Brom who have played 19, Newcastle have played 18, and they're just falling so far behind everybody else. And then you have a situation like this, and it's just so frustrating for everybody involved. And there are in the handbook for the league strict criteria about a ground in tier 3 has to have so many seats, has to have a border around the pitch, has to have so many toilets, and this and that and that. And these teams aren't owning these grounds. They're having to ground share with other teams, and the pitches have a lot of games on them, and they're not Premier League stadiums with loads of really good equipment and top ground staff. It's they're up from playing fields, but you get the idea. So we're going to have this sort of situation, and it's just frustrating because you saw pictures of the pitch, and I've seen games played on pitches that are an awful lot worse than that. And as said, now an already congested fixture list. I mean, if you look for Halifax, they've got 2 next week, then Wolves on the 7th, then 2 the week after that, then games every weekend to try and get it in. So you've got to fit a Forest game in there somewhere as well. And it's just going to get extremely difficult to fit these games in. And are we going to be possibly in a situation where we end up with teams not playing the full 22 game season because we can't fit it in? Which would be a shame. But do we get to that point where we go, there is an expense to going up there, there is an expense to hosting, you're not going to get relegated, you're not going to get promoted, maybe we just leave it at that? It's a similar situation with the Wolves against Fylde game, which has not been scheduled for about a month now. And there is obviously more to it than just there's a free weekend, you play that game, because both teams are free on the 14th of April and have been for ages, but the game isn't being put in. And you begin to wonder, is there a situation arising there whereby Wolves can get another 24 points in their season, which puts them on 47. So Wolves cannot win the league. FAWNL are 12 points away from safety with 6 games to go. And FAWNL have got a game this weekend and then one on Wednesday. Are we going to be in a situation there as well where we just go, it's a long way to go? We'd want to get this game played, but ultimately, because the positioning in the league table doesn't matter, with any prize money or anything like that, you're already relegated, you can't win the league. Do we just leave it? And nobody wants to see that, but is that the situation we're going to find ourselves in? Who knows? What it means for the Northern table then, let's have a look at that. So Wolves up 3 places with that victory over West Brom, because that mid-table is so tight there. 23 points Wolves in 4th, 22 points Derby in 8th, but there is a much disparity in the number of games played. Newcastle 12 points clear at the top. Forest lost the opportunity to close that gap with their game being postponed. Huddersfield get a valuable point with Liverpool fed, but they are still 8 away from safety. Yes, they've got 2 in hand over Stourbridge, but it is a big ask for Huddersfield Town. FAWNL are, as I said, 12 points away from safety with 6 games to go. And then you look at the games that FAWNL have got. That Burnley one is going to be very difficult. There's a Wolves one you've got to try and fit in somewhere. And then there are important games: Stoke, Huddersfield, Halifax. There's important games in there for FAWNL, but there is also the possibility that it could be pretty much all over by the time we do the show this time next week. And then obviously that completely changes the prospect of it. So that's the North. Said frustrating week for some, and it's not really a week of great change in the North. A couple of narrow wins, but they're all from the teams that now can't get themselves promoted. Like I say, everybody Wolves down are now out of it, even with Wolves' games in hand. Burnley have got 7 to go. They can get to another 21 points, which maximises them at 54. So Newcastle need just 2 wins to take Burnley out of it, and 2 wins also puts them level with Forest's maximum. And obviously with the better goal difference as well for Newcastle, then it does make it extremely unlikely for Forest as well. Newcastle's remaining 4, just for anyone who is interested, is Liverpool fed 6th, Huddersfield 11th, Halifax 9th, and West Bromwich Albion 7th. Where are they going to drop points in 3 of those 4 games with those teams left to play, with the greatest of respect to those teams? As we've said for a few weeks now, I think the Northern Premier Division is done. Right, Southern Premier Division then, let's have a look at those. We'll start on Saturday. Ipswich Town beating Chatham Town by 5-0. 2-4 Natasha Thomas, 23rd and 58th minute. 1 for Sophie Peskett in the 32nd. Leonard Gunning-Williams in the 61st. And Summer Hughes in the 72nd. That has relegated Chatham, that result. Cheltenham Town 4, Billericay Town 2. Goals in this one: Cheltenham took the lead in the 12th minute through Charlie Taylor. Billericay Town equalising through Leanne Bell from the penalty spot on the 41st minute, but they couldn't take that through to half time, with Phoebe Poole putting Cheltenham back in front in the 45th minute, and then Emily Owen in the 3rd minute of added time, putting them 3-1 in front by half time. Second half, Billericay get one back. Kaylee Stead in the 52nd minute, but then Emily Allen in the 63rd minute made it 4-2 to Cheltenham. MK Dons winning by 3-0 against Cardiff City at Stadium MK. Trisha Gould in the 34th and the 74th minute, and 1 from the penalty spot for Fatuga Dada in the 40th minute from the penalty spot. Already relegated, London Bees lose to Oxford away from home by 3-1. Oxford have put themselves 2-0 up by half time in this one. Natasha Stevens, a quarter of an hour in, and Jenna Legg in the 28th minute made it 2-0. London get one back, Lauren Cullum on the hour mark, but that only lasted 5 minutes before Catherine Wiseman put Oxford 2 goals in front once again in the 65th minute. And the banana skin for Portsmouth in their push for promotion was navigated easily with a 4-0 victory over Rugby Borough. Ava Robotham in the 4th minute, Lita Rutherford in the 26th, Ella Humphrey in the 62nd, and Daisy McLaughlin in the 77th minute. A comfortable, in the end, 4-0 win for Portsmouth. League table then in the Southern Premier Division. There's been no movement at all, but as you see down at the bottom there, Chatham Town relegated. They are 11 points away from safety, only have 9 left available. So the bottom of the Southern Premier Division is done. The top is very close to being done as well. Portsmouth make use of their game in hand over #United and are now 8 points clear at the top of the Southern Premier Division table, still with only 1 loss all season, 17 wins and 1 defeat. So #United need 3 wins from their last 4 just to catch up to Portsmouth. It is possible, although slightly unlikely, that Portsmouth win the league this weekend, because if they are victorious in their game and #United fail to win theirs, although are at home to Cardiff City, then Portsmouth would be crowned champions of the Southern Premier Division and get promotion into the Championship this weekend. But if not this weekend, then next for Portsmouth, I believe, because yes, they are playing next weekend against Plymouth Argyle. #United's max is 55, and given the goal difference, I mean, a win and a draw would do it for Portsmouth. So we're really only a couple of weeks away from the Southern Premier Division being over as well, then it's just going to be a case of just finishing the games and seeing how high up the table you can get. But with that 8-point gap between Milton Keynes Dons in 6th and Cardiff in 7th, then I think the bottom 6 are going to stay the bottom 6 and the top 6 will stay the top 6, and we'll just see if there's any slight movements in those. Right, let's go through to the Division 1 Midlands. Now, Tier 4 is where plenty has been happening this weekend. So we'll start then with a really important game down towards the bottom, which was Leeford Athletic 2, Sheffield 0. The bottom 2 coming up against each other. Leeford Athletic take the win. Niamh Fallon, 14th minute, and Angie Morley in the 66th minute. Notts County losing to Boldmere St Michael's by 3-1. That information still isn't on full time, but I know that the scorers of Boldmere St Michael's, Greaves, Formerston and Wilcox. Notts County's goal coming through Emery in the 84th minute. Peterborough United 1, Loughborough Lightning 2. That's all but ended Peterborough's title hopes. They did take the lead through Megan Lawler in the 9th minute, but Loughborough Lightning in the second half, Jade Arbour with 2, 48th and 56th minute, means they win by 2-1. Solihull Moors 2, Lincoln City 0. Bethany Gallagher and Tiana Russell Cartwright getting the goals there for Solihull Moors, both in the first half. Sutton Coldfield Town 1, Northampton Town 2. Goals for this one. Northampton Town getting an early one through Jade Bell in the 3rd minute. Alexandra Dix in the 44th, doubling the advantage. Sutton Coldfield Town get one back in the second half. Chloe Finn in the 65th minute. But that's not enough for Sutton Coldfield to take anything out of that game. And Sporting Cowser doing their best to make sure this title race goes right down to the wire. 5-0 away win against Leek Town. 2 for Layla Kennelly, 15th and 58th minute. Larry Walker, 68th and 72nd minute. And Laura Smith, 15 minutes from time. Rounded off a very comfortable win for Sporting Cowser. Division 1 Midlands table then. Cowser keep that 1 point advantage over Loughborough Lightning, but Loughborough Lightning do have a game in hand. Boldmere St Michael's remain in third, but they are 6 points away from just catching up to Sporting Cowser now. And with a goal difference of 38 less, really a win for Sporting Cowser in any one of their final 3 games, which is Lincoln City at home, who are in 8th, Leafield Athletic, who are 11th, and Sheffield, who are 12th. 1 win takes Boldmere St Michael's out of it. Peterborough United, their max is 49. Again, that's pretty much ended their promotion hopes. That defeat to Loughborough Lightning, because Loughborough Lightning need 2 wins from 4 in order to stop Peterborough from getting anything, and Loughborough have got Notts County, Sheffield, Lincoln and Sutton Coldfield Town as well. So I think to have both Sporting and Loughborough really slip up enough for Peterborough to stay in it is very unlikely. Given the games that are remaining, it still looks as though it's going to be advantage Loughborough because they're playing similar teams to Sporting. However, because of Sporting's better goal difference, Loughborough only have to slip up once. 1 draw will be enough to eliminate that game in hand advantage. And given that Sporting Cowser's goal difference is 18 better, it's going to be a tough ask to make that up in so few games. If they do drop points, so Loughborough just need to focus on, it's still in Loughborough's hands. If they win all 4 of their games, then they will go back up into the Northern Premier Division. Sporting Cowser know that if they win their 3 games, which you would imagine they will do, it will keep the pressure on. As I said, Boldmere St Michael's out of it in my opinion. Peterborough United also out of it. The movement, Solihull Moors above Sutton Coldfield Town. That is a result for Solihull Moors that means they are mathematically safe, although they were anyway really. So that's the situation there, because Leafield Athletic can only make it to, or Leafield Athletic and Sheffield actually can both only make it to 23. So everyone Sutton Coldfield and Down can technically still get relegated, but realistically Sutton Coldfield Town, Lincoln, they're going to be fine. Leek Town and Notts County is the interesting one, because Leek Town are 3 points clear of Leafield Athletic. The goal difference is close. Notts County's goal difference is shocking in comparison to the other 2. And a win for Leafield Athletic coupled with a loss for Notts County would put Notts County in the relegation zone. So run-ins for these teams. Notts County, 4 games to go. They have 3 of them at home. Leek Town, who are 9th, Lincoln City, who are 8th. So big games there for Notts County. Loughborough Lightning, obviously chasing that promotion, is an unlikely one, you would say, as is Northampton away on the final day. So for Notts County, this weekend against Leek Town and then the 21st of April against Lincoln City, the games they've really got to target. Leafield Athletic, who are hunting them down, have Solihull Moors at home, who are 6th, Northampton away 5th, Sporting Cowser in 1st, and Peterborough in 4th. So very difficult 4 fixtures for Leafield Athletic, and a couple of draws would do it, but they need to win one of those games, and it looks as though that might be unlikely. But you never know. And Sheffield, for them to try and chase down either of them, they need 2 wins really. Northampton Town at home, who are 5th, Leek Town at home, who are 9th. That's going to be a big game for Sheffield, and they kind of need to get it done early because they have the top 3 to finish their season off. Boldmere St Michael's at home, Loughborough Lightning away, Sporting Cowser at home. So you almost need to say that Sheffield need to win both of their next 2 games, one on Sunday, one next Thursday, in order to stand a chance of surviving in Tier 4. Leek Town, they have 5 games to go. Based on the games that other teams have, I think it's unlikely they will get dragged into it, particularly if they get a result from these games against Notts County and against Sheffield that are coming up in the next week. That should see them over the line. Right, Division 1 North then. Lots of games to talk about in Division 1 North. Of course, it often gets hampered by the weather. does Division 1 North. So we have 7 games to look at. We're going to start from last week. Leeds United 5, York City 1. Goals for Leeds United. Jessica Rizou first, 44th, 55th minute. Charlie-Anne Pizzarello in the 32nd and Alice Hughes in the 61st. Leeds were 5-0 up before York City get a consolation in the 73rd minute through Jess Holder. FC United and Manchester 1, Chorley 5, a convincing away victory for Chorley. It was 1-1 at a time. Millie Fitzpatrick put Chorley in front, but then Mia Henderson equalised for FC United and Manchester. Chorley, though, got the lead back again 10 minutes before half-time through Saffron Newhouse. And then Charlotte Tyers in the 52nd minute and Megan Searson in the 85th rounded off a relatively comfortable victory in the end. Then on Saturday at the Eco Power Stadium, Doncaster Rovers Bells beating Chester Street Town by 3-1 in front of 700 fans. Hannah McWilliams in the 32nd minute, then Megumi Shenton in the 63rd, Jasmine Saxton in the 88th. Chester Street had pulled it back to 2-1 through Laura Hockaday in the 82nd minute, but Doncaster Rovers Bells taking the 3 points in the end. Barnsley 3, FC United of Manchester 1. Barnsley taking the lead early through Emily Pierpont, but that lasted just 4 minutes. Tamara Hamer getting an equaliser for FC United Manchester in the 12th minute. Louise Biggins in the 31st and then Natalie Shaw in the 84th, giving Barnsley a 3-1 victory in the end. Tough for Durham Cestra, a 2-1 defeat to Hull City and a late winner for Hull as well. Shakala Brooks had put them in front in the 39th minute. Giles then equalised for Durham Cestra 10 minutes after the restart, but then Liberty Bott in the 89th minute. Many of those, if I remember correctly, that was while Durham had their keeper in the sin bin. And Liberty Bott getting the winner there for Hull City. Leeds United and Norton Stockton Ancients drawing 0-0. Middlesbrough beating Chorley by 3-0. 2 for Nicole Havry in the 2nd and the 32nd minute, and 1 for Ellen Turnbull in the 81st minute. Table then in Division 1 North, quite a bit of movement. Hull City going above Durham Cestra with that victory. Leeds United climbing above Stockport County and Chorley going above Norton and Stockton Ancients. So, at the top of the table, Hull City still with 3 games in hand over Middlesbrough. They are just 2 points behind. Hull very much still in the driving seat. Leeds United climbing up 1 place basically on goals scored because they've got the same points, same goal difference. Leeds United have scored 33 and Stockport have scored 27. So a very close one there. And Chorley are now 9 points clear of the relegation zone. You would think that is them safe, but we'll have a bit of a dive into the relegations. I think the top kind of could do with Hull catching up before we look into that in too much detail, but Hull with York City, with FC United of Manchester, with Chorley in those games, teams in the bottom half, Doncaster Rovers, Bells, Stockport County as well. I think Stockport County Leeds the highest team that Hull have got to face. I think Hull will probably get enough points, and we could do with them catching up in the number of games played in order to really have a proper look at that run-in. You would imagine that Middlesbrough will beat FC United of Manchester, beat Norton and Stockton Ancients and beat York City. They've got 3 teams in the bottom 4. So you would imagine that Middlesbrough will finish on 51, which means that Hull need 4 wins out of their last 6 in order to get into the Northern Premier Division. Down towards the bottom though, FC United of Manchester need 2 wins. They've got 4 games remaining. Middlesbrough in 1st, Hull in 2nd, Leeds in 5th and Doncaster Rovers Bells in 7th. So it's going to be very difficult for FC United of Manchester. York City with 6 to go. and they only need a point to get out of the relegation zone. The big one for them is going to be, well, firstly this weekend against Norton Stockton Ancients, but then they have a game against Chester Street Town in the middle of April. Those are the two big games really for York City, because then they've got, well, between those two games they've got Barnsley, then they've got Hull and Middlesbrough and Stockport County. So they've got all the teams down towards the top. So it's going to be key for York City to get the results in those games. Similar situation, Chester Street Town will also be targeting that York City game. They've got one against Chorley as well as games against Stockport, Durham and Leeds. So there are games that these teams really need to be targeting. Norton Stockton Ancients, who are still kind of in it, but it is going to be a tall order for them to get dragged in. They have York City this weekend, as I've mentioned, then Middlesbrough and Stockport at home. So that covers Division 1 North. Let's have a look at Division 1 South East. 5 games to talk about here, and it very much is now advantage Wimbledon after a 6-0 thrashing of Cambridge City. And the result still isn't up there yet, but 2 for Ashley Hinks, 14th and 65th minute, 1 for Mackenzie in the 45+1, 1 for Dory in the 48th, Grant in the 60th and Russell in the 87th minute. Very convincing victory for AFC Wimbledon. We'll jump down 1 because Norwich City drawing 2-2 with Queen's Park Rangers at Carrow Road is a big dent in their promotion hope. They were just 59 short of 6,000 at Carrow Road. Great attendance there, and it was Queen's Park Rangers who took the lead through Grace Stanley in the 18th minute. Norwich City turned that completely on its head though. Rachel Lawrence in the 31st, Ellie Smith in the 33rd. 2 goals in 3 minutes. Flipped that game on its head. 2-1 it was to Norwich, but Grace Stanley with her second of the game made it 2-2 before half time, and that was all of the scoring. So yeah, that's really helped Wimbledon, as we'll look at in a moment. Haywards Heath Town 0, AFC Sudbury 2. Big result for AFC Sudbury, who who scored through Jessica Allen and Ava Juvenel to beat Haywards Heath Town, and that's done their survival a world of good. Worthing slip up slightly. They drew 0-0 with Actonians. And then last night, Actonians 4, Queen's Park Rangers 2. Goals in this one. Actonians really getting ahead of it. 4-0 they were up. Netschkever in the 18th minute, St Clair in the 48th, and Shakes in the 68th and 83rd. Queen's Park Rangers get 2 late goals through Ward Chambers in the 86th and Hennessy in the 87th. Made it probably a little bit nervous for Actonians, but they are able to hold on. South East table then, there is only one movement, which is Actonians going above Ashford. But the situation is then AFC Wimbledon are 10 points clear of Norwich City. Now Norwich do have 2 games in hand, yes. Norwich's maximum is now 56, so Wimbledon 4 wins out of their last 5 will guarantee it. But just psychologically being so far ahead, they're 2 games ahead of Norwich. Now coming into, it's a big week for Wimbledon. They have a game tonight away at Ashford, and then they host Norwich this weekend. So they can't win the league this week. What they can do is get to 51 points possibly, with Norwich having 6 games left to go. If they are to win tonight and beat Norwich at the weekend, if they beat Norwich at the weekend, Norwich's maximum becomes 53 and Wimbledon would be on 51, knowing that they then only need 1 win from their final 3 games, which is London Seaward away, Worthing away and Actonians at home. So not necessarily walkovers, so to speak, but that would do them a world of good. Of course, the flip side can happen, where Norwich win at the weekend, the gap goes down to 7 points, plus Norwich have got 2 games in hand, and that gap can become 1 point again, and all of a sudden it's very nervy. So who knows what's going to happen in Division 1 South East this weekend? That game is going to be key. Down towards the bottom then, Haywards Heath Town are 9 points away from safety with 5 games to go after that defeat to AFC Sudbury. They have difficult games in the run-in. They've got Worthing, who are third, Actonians, who are fifth, Norwich City are second, Ashford are sixth. So they've got teams in the top half until they play London Seawood on final day, and I sense it's going to be done before then. Cambridge City are 4 points away from AFC Sudbury. They've got Seawood away, Norwich away, Cambridge United away, and Worthing at home. So where are Cambridge City essentially going to get 2 wins from in those 4 fixtures? If you take out Norwich City and Worthing, which is very unlikely, then they have to win this weekend against London Seawood, and then they need to win the Cambridge Derby to give themselves a chance. With Cambridge City's maximum being 21, that's put Cambridge United and up mathematically safe. Realistically, London Seawood and Chesham I think are safe as well. Yeah, so South East might not make the final day either. We'll see what happens this weekend. Right, plenty to talk about in Division 1 South West. This was another talking point this weekend. We'll start with the 2 games that were in midweek. Chelsea losing by 12 goals to 0 to Moneyfield, kind of unsurprising that one. Chelsea have been struggling this season. Goals in this one to Fuller in the 19th minute, Wilson-Wilton 23rd and 55th, Taylor in the 33rd, 70th and 87th, hat-trick for her, Simmons in the 34th and the 82nd, Moody in the 37th, Pearce in the 42nd minute, and then you've got Fox in the 79th and Haslam in the 85th minute. Convincing victory for Moneyfields as we expected. And then Swindon Town beating Keynsham Town by 5 goals to 0. Goals in this one to Jarvis in the 23rd minute, Stripple in the 31st and the 80th, Colston in the 59th and the 73rd. Those are the 2 games that happened last Thursday. Now we'll get on to the games at the weekend. Big one towards the top as Bournemouth are held by Keynsham Town 1-1 at the Vitality Stadium. Vicky Vipon put Keynsham in front in the 20th minute, and then Hillier for Bournemouth in the 72nd minute equalised, but they have dropped points in that title race. It's not the end of the world, as I'll explain when we look at the table, but drop points for Bournemouth. Bridgewater 0, Moneyfields 0. Nothing really to write home about in that one. Exeter City maintain their near perfect record at the top, winning by 3 goals to 0 against Abingdon. Goals to Amber Pollock 27th minute, Zoe Cunningham 40th, and to Connie Pengelly in the 88th. Maidenhead 4-0 winners over Portishead Town. Good result for Maidenhead, that one. Sarah Thompson in the 55th minute. Natty Cowell in the 64th. Gemma Luke in the 87th. And Risa Jawad Taborda in the 90th minute. Putting Maidenhead 4-0 in front. Southampton women 1, Torquay United 1. That big game down towards the bottom finished in a draw. Torquay taking the lead through Ocean Lato in the 54th minute before Rhiannon Hambleton in the 86th minute equalised for Southampton women, and the points were shared. And then we get to the big one. Swindon Town 28, Chelsea 0. Let me just move. I'll move myself over to that side. Just so you can see the extent of all of the scorers for Swindon Town. Hull in the 5th minute, Vivish in the 8th, Jarvis 11th, 16th, 44th, McDonald 13th, 70th and 90th, Colston 15th, 40th, 45 plus 1, 51, 62, 65 and 85, Clifford 25, 33, 74, Stripple 37, Beck Essen 43, 57, Diaz Butcher 54, Van Dries 59, 78, Mugford 67, Jones 68 and 2 own goals in the 80th and the 87th minute. 28-0, and this was also at the county ground, Swindon Town's men's ground, and well, what an afternoon that was, and it's had quite a bit, I suppose, of backlash is probably the right word on social media. It's given those who don't like women's football more leverage to say, look, it's awful. Even those who do like women's football are unhappy about the way that Swindon reported such a big win, which I can get because you're still using, when you're 24 up and you're still using the goal graphics, and you're scoring every 3 minutes, I can get that as well. It has highlighted again those who want to bash the game and don't know anything about the women's game and saying, oh, this is the state of the women's game in this country. Yes, but only against one team who have really struggled this season a lot. They're looking at odd result like that and going, that's ridiculous, without looking at league tables and actually being invested in the game and looking and watching like this show every week to see, like in the Northern Premier Division, for example, you've got 5 teams separated by 1 point, and we're only a month, 5 weeks away from the end of the season. 6, I think it is, actually looking at the board. And the competitiveness of like Exeter and Bournemouth at the top and how they're going, and how's Division 1 Midlands shaping up. There's still technically 4 teams in that, and everything like that. So I think a lot of credit has to go to Chelsea, in my opinion, for not giving in, sticking with it. It would have been easy to say, no, we can't compete, there's no point, we'll drop down, let's save ourselves the expense of travelling and the pitch and everything else, we'll just drop out. But fair play to Chelsea for sticking with it, turning up every week. They're not postponing games because they can't be bothered. The games that are getting postponed is because of the pitch, and that's fair enough, can happen to anybody. There is a team of them travelling to Swindon. They used all 5 substitutes, so they took a full squad of 16, travelled to Swindon, played for the full 90 minutes. Yes, they got annihilated, sounds like a horrible word to use, but you're conceding a goal every 3 minutes, and it's not been a good afternoon for them, but they will come again and they will play again next week. And it must be difficult for not just those involved, but like the fan base of Chelsea and staff and everything else. They're on a minus 160 now, and it must be, there are players in that squad that have played 21. I mean, let me go on, put it on league only so we can see about 18. There are players who have played 18, 17, 16, 14 of these games and have been conceding goal after goal after goal, and yet are still coming every week and playing, and that deserves an awful lot of credit. It really does, because it would be easy for them to say, nah, I don't want to get on a bus and go all the way to Exeter to get destroyed like 18-0. I don't want to go to Keynsham, and I don't want to come out after I've been at work on a Tuesday and play a midweek game where we're going to lose 14-15-0, but they are doing, and I think that deserves a lot of credit. Chelsea are now relegated after the results this week. They now cannot catch Portishead Town. So they will be in Tier 5 next season, and best of luck to them. So the battle then is between Southampton Women's in 9th, Portishead Town in 10th, and Torquay United in 11th. So Torquay United, 4 games left to go, but only 3 have been scheduled because 1 is against Bournemouth and yet to be put on the system. Torquay, 3 games at home, Maidenhead in 8th, Portishead in 10th, and then Swindon in 3rd. Those Maidenhead and Portishead games are very important for Torquay. Torquay's maximum, by the way, is 23. If you take out the Bournemouth game and the Swindon game, realistically, Maidenhead have made themselves safe. It is a three-way battle between Torquay, Portishead and Southampton Women's. Portishead have got 5 games left to go. They have got Bridgewater United, who are in 7th. Then the top 2, difficult there. Torquay, that's a big one. But crucially for Portishead Town, they have got Chelsea on the final day of the season. Now, let's say, for example, and it's a fairly safe assumption that Portishead Town will win that game. That puts them on 17. Therefore, Torquay need to win 2 of their final 4 games to catch Portishead Town, which means really they have to win that game against Portishead. That's key. Southampton Women, they have 5 games to go. They have Bournemouth as well. They've got Bournemouth and 2 against Moneyfields. So they're difficult games for Southampton Women. Their games they'll be targeting: Bridgewater in 7th, Maidenhead in 8th. Those are the games that Southampton will be targeting. We'll have a look at the fixtures coming up in a moment, and that will let you know a bit more about what we can expect this weekend, because some of the games, particularly like down towards the bottom end, like I know you can't really see the board clearly from here, but the Southern Premier Division, a full programme this weekend. 2 games scheduled for next weekend, then nothing the weekend after that, then a full programme again, nothing the weekend after that, and then final day, because they've been getting their games played. Southwest is very more bitty. There's midweek games and games this weekend, then it's not a full programme next weekend, then there's 2 games, they're all midweek, but then you're not playing on Sunday. Full programme again, then 1 more game, and it's all, with these games in hand, it's going to get very awkward as to determine exactly when everything's going to happen. Towards the top, I'll highlight that, yes, Bournemouth dropped points, but because they play Exeter on the final day, it's still in Bournemouth's hands, in the sense that if they win their remaining 7 games, they will go up. They will beat Exeter by a point, because the best thing for Bournemouth is to get to within 2 points of Exeter on final day and beat them on final day. Equally, it's in Exeter's hands. If they win their 5, they go up. So yes, Bournemouth drew, and it puts a bit more pressure on them, but it is still within their hands. Right, let's have a look then to finish off this week's show. I appreciate it's a bit of a long one. Finish this week's show, we'll have a look at the fixtures coming up. We'll start in the north. Tonight, Huddersfield Town against Halifax. That is at the Staff Lakes Arena. That is 11th against 9th. Derby County against Nottingham Forest at Pride Park. That's 8th against 2nd. Huddersfield Town then at the weekend take on Wolves. Huddersfield 11th and will be regardless come the weekend. Wolves in 4th. Newcastle United at home to Liverpool Feds down in 6th. Stoke City against Halifax is 5th against 9th. Stourbridge against Burnley is 10th against 3rd. And West Bromwich Albion against AFC Fylde, a 3 o'clock start, 7th against 12th. Midweek as well, 2 games on Wednesday. Burnley against Fylde and Stourbridge against Wolves. Fixtures in the Southern Premier Division, a full programme this weekend, as I highlighted a few minutes ago. Billericay Town against Oxford United, 9th against 4th. Hashtag United against Cardiff City is 2nd against 7th. Hashtag United must win that game. London Bees against Plymouth Argyle. Again, nothing to play for now for Plymouth. MK Dons against Portsmouth is 6th against 1st. Rugby Borough against Ipswich Town, 3rd against 5th. And Chatham Town against Cheltenham Town is 11th against 8th. Again, Chatham already relegated. Games in Division 1 Midlands. Notts County against Leek Town. Big game down towards the bottom, 10th against 9th this weekend. Sheffield against Northampton Town, 12th against 5th. Sporting Council against Lincoln City is 1st against 8th. Sutton Coldfield Town against Loughborough Lightning is 7th against 2nd. Solihull Moors take on Peterborough United, that is 6th against 4th. Leaford Athletic then take on Solihull Moors on Tuesday, 11th against 6th. A really important game there for Leaford Athletic. And Notts County take on Loughborough Lightning on Wednesday. Into Division 1 North, just 5 games this weekend. Doncaster Rovers Bells against Durham Sestra. Doncaster Rovers Bells in 7th, Durham Sestra in 3rd, FC United of Manchester in 12th, Middlesbrough in 1st, Hull City and Stockport County is 2nd against 6th, Leeds United against Barnsley 5th against 4th, York against Norton Stockton Ancients, important game towards the bottom again, is 11th against 9th, and Doncaster Rovers Bells in 7th take on Hull City in 2nd. In Division 1 South East, full programme this weekend, +1 next Wednesday. Ashford Town against Wimbledon. Sorry, that's tonight, that game. Ashford Town against Wimbledon. Then Cheshire United against AFC Sudbury, 9th against 10th this weekend. London Seawood take on Cambridge City. Queen's Park Rangers against Ashford Town, 4th against 6th. Worthing against Cambridge United is 3rd against 7th. Wimbledon then take on Norwich. That's a huge game. The top two going against each other. And Worthing take on Haywards Heath Town next Wednesday. That's 3rd against 12th. Finally then, in Division 1 South West, a game tonight and a game tomorrow. Portishead Town take on Bridgewater United tonight. That's 10th against 7th. Important game for Portishead. Southampton Women's then have a difficult game at home to AFC Bournemouth tomorrow night. Bridgewater United against Southampton Women's at the weekend, 7th against 9th. Portishead Town take on AFC Bournemouth, 10th against 2nd. Chelsea host Exeter City at the weekend, 12th against top of the table. Swindon Town face Moneyfields, 3rd against 4th. And Torquay United against Maidenhead United is 11th against 8th. That'll do it then for this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat, coming to you on Wednesday, but next week I'll be back to my usual Thursday at 6 p.m. slot. A lot could happen this weekend, or of course nothing really much could happen as well, but whatever happens, I'll be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. bringing you the very latest on this, the show dedicated to the FAWNL. And wherever you're watching your show, wherever you are watching your team this weekend, enjoy it, have a good time and have a fabulous Easter as well. I'll be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. with all the very latest, but for now, goodbye.